Hello, good morning, and welcome. This is Faith in Action. I am Emeka Obieki. All the elements of the season are still in the air. Activities here and there. Every environment is boisterous. People doing one thing or the other. All in the spirit of Christmas. Today is Boxing Day. And we are talking about giving. Giving. When you give, it is more rewarding to give than to receive. That is a very standard expression that has been guiding humanity for a very long time. And that reminds me of one statement His Holiness the Pope made when he visited one of the East African countries, a slum in Kenya. They call it Kaigame. He said that the path of Christ on earth started on the periphery. He moved from the poor, with the poor, towards others. So that is the spirit of the life of Christ, even at birth on the manger. I am Emeka Obieki, taking you straight to the very first segment of the program today.
The Cathedral of 12 Apostles Catholic Church, Central Area, Abuja, organized an Advent cocktail for diplomats and friends in Nigeria on the 15th of December 2015. The event took place at the Cardinal's Court Area 3, Gariki, Abuja. Ambassadors and high commissioners from various embassies graced the occasion. The cocktail aims at establishing a strong relationship with Catholics in Nigeria and also ushers in the Year of Mercy as declared by His Holiness, Pope Francis. In his welcome address, His Eminence John Cardinal Onaikon gave the reason behind the Advent cocktail.
Our Cathedral of the 12 Apostles is in the central area in the midst of the embassies, and we should begin to get to know our neighbors. This, I believe, is the reason why we are here today. I want to thank you for coming at short notice for most of you. For us, this is the first time we are trying this kind of thing, and I'm sure too for you, this is the first time you are getting this kind of invitation. You are used to invitations to all kinds of receptions. I'm sure maybe after this you are going for one or two others. But that you find time to come here, I really am very, very grateful. May God bless you in the work you are doing in our country. May God bless your respective countries. Every country has got its own challenges, some more than others, but nobody is perfect. And please, we thank you for the support you are giving to our nation in the efforts that we are making to build a nation that we can all be proud of.
The Papal Nuncio to Nigeria, His Excellency, Most Reverend Dr. Augustine Kasuja, explained the Pope's declaration of the Year of Mercy.
On the top of the invitation card that the Cardinal sent us, he said, in the context of the Year of Mercy, my dear friends and my ladies and gentlemen, you follow the events and the activities of the Holy Father Pope Francis. Recently has visited Africa for the first time. He made an exception for Africa because it is in Africa that this Year of Mercy, a first gate of mercy was opened in the Central African Republic. He made it as an exception because all his visit to Africa, even though he visited Kenya, Uganda, my mother country, and the Central African Republic, but he said all his mind was in Central African Republic, a country which is suffering since a long time without an organized authority. This year, the Holy Father Francis wants to invite us, all of us, to be messengers and ambassadors of mercy, of love and compassion. The document that published that this Year of Mercy, in Latin it is called Misericordiae Vultus, the vault of the face of mercy. Jesus is the face of the mercy of God. And in that word misericordia, the Latin word misericordia, the Pope Francis says it contains two words, miseria, which means sorrow, and cordis, the heart, which means we can perhaps translate it better with the word compassion. It is a year when all of us should create that spirit of compassion for anyone who needs to live that joy as a human being.
The choir from Cathedral of 12 Apostles thrilled the guests with beautiful Christmas carols. Later on, the guests were given a treat as they shared pleasantries with each other. Most Reverend Dr. Ansem Umorin, the Auxiliary Bishop of Abuja Archdiocese, gave a vote of thanks.
Thank you in a very special way for making our time to be with us this evening. We appreciate your friendship and we appreciate what you do. We want to use this opportunity to ask God to continue to bless you and bless us as we work together for humanity. Thank you for coming, and we look forward to seeing you again some other time, and this time next year. May I use this opportunity to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Our reporter spoke to some guests.
My Christmas message is simple: for Nigerians to live in unity, show love. There's love at Christmas, and embrace peace. Insurgents and all others who are aggrieved, they should all, in the spirit of Christmas, forgive one another, and let us make our country a place that will be habitable for all.
We are here to celebrate Advent because we are waiting to celebrate the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ, yearly event, and also the Year of Mercy that just began last week. So we, as a parish of the 12 Apostles, thought it wise that there should be an event where our cardinal celebrates the diplomats and their spouses, with the heads of high commissions. Because if you are very observant, every year, every now and then, they have their independent celebrations, they invite us, we go there. We don't have an event that we invite them to come. So we felt as a parish to put it together, to celebrate coming together for Advent and to show the Year of Mercy, and to build more on the relationship we have already with the various embassies or diplomats.
I think you have a wonderful sense of humor. You're very welcoming, very happy people, and I really love everyone here. So I'm very happy to be here.
So which of the Nigerian foods have you eaten?
Today,
No, since you've been here.
oh boy, pepper soup, which makes me cry in a very bad way. Then I've also had, we have almost the same food you have in Brazil, in the Northeast, in Bahia. We have many of the food you eat here because you guys brought it to Brazil when you came. So for me, it's like being home. And I love egusi, and there are some, and I love suya. I must say that's my favorite. I cannot resist suya when I see it.
I'm really glad to be sharing this Christmas with all these colleagues, and I fell in love with Nigerians, with the warm way I was received everywhere when I travel a lot in the country, and I was really welcome. I was surprised. I travel always with my family, with my baby. I have a baby, and really the reception from everyone here was fantastic. So that's the most impressive of this country.
It's Christmas. Come, let us adore him now and always.
Wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your King. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Well, they say that grace and gratitude belong together, just like heaven and earth. Gratitude evokes grace, just like voice and echo. And gratitude follows grace, just like thunder and lightning. This is a period of grace and gratitude. You thank God for all the things that He has done for you, all the Spirit. And in turn, God will appreciate by giving you more grace to live on. We're still moving along on the program, and we are moving straight away to the next segment, which is My Faith and I. Lavon is standing by.
Hello. Our special guest on this segment today is somebody who is so pious in his Catholic faith. He was converted to Catholicism at a very young age. He had a mind of his own when he made up his mind to be a Catholic. And speaking of no other than His Excellency OBONG Victor ATTAH, former governor of Akwa Ibom State. Your Excellency, for those who are watching the program now, can we meet you properly?
Oh, okay. My name is OBONG Victor ATTAH. The OBONG is a title I acquired sometime in my life. And otherwise, I was Architect Victor ATTAH because I started as an architect and a town planner. Okay. I still do practice my profession, by the way. Wow. But then I got into politics very briefly and was lucky to be elected by the people of Akwa Ibom State to govern the state for 8 years, from 1989 to 2003 to 2007. Okay. And now I am back in my practice.
Now, back to your profession as an architect or back to your profession as a politician?
Practice of architecture and acting like a guardian angel to the politics of Nigeria.
So in a way, I'd be right to say you're a political godfather?
Yes, I would accept that title.
When did you come into Catholicism?
Oh, it was when I was in secondary school. I wasn't born a Catholic. My parents both died in the Kwaibo Church, buried by the Kwaibo Church. Half of the family, that's 4 of their children, remained in the Kwaibo Church. And essentially only 3 of us became Catholics. And I turned Catholic in rather interesting circumstances because I was going to be baptized into the Kwaibo Church, but at a very young age. And then I was refused baptism because they said I would be too young to pay church dues. And I thought, you don't baptize people so that they will pay church dues. So I went to my parents and said, I'm sorry, your church is very discriminatory and I'm not going to that church with you anymore. You would think this is strange because I was quite young at the age at which this happened. But my parents were tolerant enough to more or less let me loose to search for myself. And I went through a lot of churches, Salvation Army, Apostolic, Methodist, Lutheran, and then finally settled on the Catholic Church. Perhaps because I was at that point in a Catholic secondary school, St. Patrick's College, Calabar. So that's how I became a Catholic.
You know, so since being a Catholic, have you had reason to look back all these years?
With what? With regret, you mean? No. I have, in fact, as you can see, I searched out the Catholic Church. I wasn't born into it, so I had reasons to question why I would want to be a Catholic rather than going to any other Christian church. And I got my reasons, convincing reasons, and I've remained devoted and committed to the Catholic Church since then.
I must say, Your Excellency, at that young age, you really had a mind of your own.
I did. You would be quite right to say that. And thank God I've maintained a mind of my own through a lot of interesting situations.
As an architect, you met a lot of people from all walks of life. And as a governor, you met people from different kinds of faiths. So now, how has your Catholic faith, or how did your Catholic faith help you to relate with all these people you meet from various parts of the world, various faiths, various denominations?
Well, you know the tenets of the Catholic Church, and so by the time you come to understand and believe them, they influence everything you do in life. And it might seem trite to say that, imitate Christ, try to do the right thing always, and so on. It's always been a principle. And yes, you will say that any other Christian faith teaches that, but the Catholic Church explains why it should be so. And if you understand that, then it really, that gets into everything you do in life, in your marriage, the raising of your children, how you relate with other people, how you even practice your profession. This thing we are calling integrity and so on, it becomes part of your existence, and you feel, no, I cannot do this because I will offend God. More than even what will offend man, because sometimes what people will expect of you is not what God will expect of you. And yes, you mentioned the chapel in the government house. You must know the history of Pope John Paul II, now a saint. I understand that from the day he was made Pope, prayers were said for him constantly because of the fact that there's 24-hour time difference from one zone to the other. If he picked prayers to be said for him in any particular convent or whatever, from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., then those prayers would be said in a country where it is 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. After one night, it's 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. in another country, those prayers will be said. So throughout the time he was Pope, for 24 hours, prayers were being constantly said for him. I latched onto that and said, well, I'm not going to be able to ask people around the world to be saying prayers for me, but I know I needed prayers to succeed in that office. So I made sure that I had a chapel in Government House. Mass was said every day at 6:30. We went beyond that. I actually asked the bishop to come and bless one of the rooms in Government House and install the Blessed Sacrament. So there will be times when I get quite disturbed about certain things, I just go and sit in front of the Blessed Sacrament and say, here I am, inspire me, tell me what I should do. I don't even have to say a prayer. Just sit in front of the Blessed Sacrament, contemplate, I may even let my mind go blank completely.
It could have been your personal devotion and ecclesiastical inclination to the Catholic Church?
I agree with you. And personal devotion is particularly significant here, because there are people who will profess God and then the next minute they have a difficulty, they run to some other God. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. People who go to shrines, people who go and do all kinds of rituals. And I just believe that there's only one supreme God. And if you just decide that that's who you are going to stick to through your faith, in my own case, the faith in the Catholic Church, then there's nothing else can touch you. There were difficult times, and I will explain them to you. When I knew I was facing particularly difficult issues, and people were telling me about spiritual attacks and so on, and I just laughed. But not to dismiss it, because the devil has powers. If you will not remember, but I could show you pictures of my through my period of governance. There was a time when I would not step out of Government House without a lapel cross. I had it specially blessed for me. If I wear a native deal like this, it will be hanging there. If I wear a suit, it'll be on my... People may now that I'm mentioning this, some people who you might remember that, yes, they used to see that cross. It was just to say that, unfortunately, we tend to use religious objects as talisman. They're not talisman, but they do have their own way of repulsing certain things that otherwise might have had some influence on you. I mean, for instance, I walk around with my rosary. I see you have a rosary on your head. I walk around with my rosary all of the time.
Wow, you beat me to that. That was going to be my next question, but you really beat me to that. You're excellent.
All of the time. And when I go through security, even abroad, empty your pockets, I will bring out my rosary and say, what is that? I say, it's my rosary. They say, okay, hold it in your hand as you walk through the scanner. I will hold it in my hand, walk through the scanner. But you won't find me without my rosary.
Can you tell me about a particular problem that you had devotion to Our Lady and the prayers were answered? I know there are various petitions you've offered to Our Lady, but a particular one that really you remember very well.
Several. Several. But if you remember the resource control issue, it got to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled against Akwa Ibom. And everybody despaired. Oh, Supreme Court has ruled. And I remember I made a statement that, well, we had Supreme Military Councils. We have all kinds of human supreme things. But we also have one supreme being, that is God, and he overrules everything else. I believe with the intercession of Mary, God will overrule this one, even though the judgment came from the Supreme Court. It was overruled. It happened. Somehow a bill was raised and it went to the National Assembly, and before you know it, Akwa Ibom was no longer a non-oil producing state. So,
you know, the thing with the Catholic Church, there's so many devotions that if you need to follow all the devotions, you'll be praying every minute for the whole 24 hours you're praying. So, which of this devotion is your favorite one?
Infant Jesus.
Infant Jesus.
Yes. Complete devotee to the confraternity of Infant Jesus. But let me tell you something. You are not wrong about praying 24 hours. That doesn't mean joining society, moving from one to the other, but you just sit sometimes and even as you are eating, you are enjoying the food, and you just remember that there are people who would be presented with that food and they won't have the appetite. You just thank God. Prayer is not a matter of locking doors and shouting and screaming at God, and so it's just a matter of appreciating God all the time. And believe me, the opportunity for you to do that exists 24 hours in your life. Really, that is all God wants from us. Thanksgiving and praise. That's all. What else can we offer Him?
Okay, now talking about going back to your family, your family were not Catholics, and at a very young age you made up your mind to be a Catholic. Now your children, were you able to, as you raise them up, I know they're all adults now, did you impact your Catholic?
Oh yeah, I only have two of them, a daughter and a son, and they're both Catholics, very good Catholics. And my daughter is married to a non-Catholic, but he agreed that the children will be raised as Catholics. So my two grandchildren from her are raised as Catholics. My son was lucky enough to marry a Catholic, and they're raising their two children also as good Catholics. Wow. So I was fortunate that way. I don't have any issues of disagreeing or fighting about religion or denomination.
Now, what advice do you have for those people who are watching you right now all across the world?
Oh, whatever technology may tell you, whatever Darwin may have said, whatever any scientist, in fact, I think that the deeper you go into science, the more you realize that there's God. Let us never forget that there is God and He rules over everything in our lives. Even the ones we sit and plan and think, we have achieved it, is not by your strength. Because there are times you will sit and plan, you go and you fail. You have to ask yourself why. And let me tell you also sometimes the difficulty people can have, and I won't share this. I was living in Kaduna, and there was a lady, a widow, and she had only two young sons, and they were trying to cross the road one time. One was holding the other, tried to run across the road. Halfway, the car was coming, the other one pulled out of that and ran back. So you can see one running to one side, and the driver was so confused, he swerved, and killed both children on both sides of the road. She decided she was not going to church anymore. Where was God when this thing happened to her? And I remember the visit of the priest to her. And he said to her, "You are wondering where God was when your 2 children were killed. The same place he was when they were crucifying his son." I've never forgotten that.
That is really powerful. That's really, really powerful.
See, remember that, then you'll know that there's nothing that happens to you that can be greater than that. So you just accept the will of God and thank God.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for finding time to spend it with us in this particular segment of My Faith and I.
I thank you and hope that it will help some people to strengthen their faith.
That's actually encouraged me. And I know a lot of people who are watching now are encouraged as well.
Thank you very much.
I've been speaking with His Excellency, OBONG Victor ATTAH, former governor of Akwa Ibom State. Let us not forget there's God and He rules everything in our lives. My name is Lavon Seletawo. As I hand you over to Emeka, God bless you, Diovu Benis.